This episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
You are in the state that I've talked to the most and I don't know anybody from, and none of you know each other. Well, except now there's two of them that know each other because I met one through the other. You're like the 10th woman from Ohio that I've talked to.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Out of 50, 60 episodes, Ohio. And I don't know anybody from Ohio. Now I just know that Ohio has a problem.
Yes, very much so.
So,
problems.
Welcome to the show, Chrissy. That's your introduction, is Ohio is a problem.
Yeah.
And Ohio is for lovers and whatever you want to say. So, all right, Chrissy, me and you, we met on TikTok. Now, how long have you been? Because TikTok, that's a whole community that I just recently found, of recovery community, and you got quite the following on there. How long have you been posting recovery type stuff there?
My first post related, all of them from the beginning. I started posting the end of August.
Oh, wow. So you got picked. Did you have one go crazy and that's how you got a following all of a sudden?
I'm not sure. I was thinking about that myself. I've had a few things go both ways.
There's a lot of flops in there. I know that.
Yeah.
I know how it goes. There's going to be a couple that are huge and then a few that's nothing. But I'm sure it's kind of a different kind of feeling. I've never had one go crazy, but I've had them go into the thousands where I'm like, holy shit, that even surprises me.
Yeah, I have recently had one video reach 1.9 million views, and I'm like, dang, I hope, I don't know.
It's who are those 1.9 million people watching me? What was that video for?
It was for sexual assault awareness. It was just a story. I get a lot of crap for my stories because they're like, how does this make sense? Or, make this make sense. But it was about my sister, just a simple miscommunication. And yeah. Most of my feedback was positive, but it's still
the comment section's the comment section, So how long have you been sober for, Chrissy?
When I truly got sober, the first time was 2014. And then again in 2017, in 2016, 2015, I've had
some relapses.
Yeah, with alcohol, mainly.
Now, was alcohol was that your downfall, or was it drugs and then you kept relapsing with alcohol? Because that's I find that a lot of addicts relapse with alcohol. I did, and you know what I mean? It's a really popular thing where we're like, nope, I'm an addict. I can still drink here and there, and it's not a problem. I just have a problem with pills. And then I try to drink again, and then it doesn't work out for me. So, were you into drugs first? And then got sober and then started drinking again?
No, I've been drinking since I was about 11 or 12. And, I've used stimulants when I was young, but it really wasn't my drug of choice. I used pills. My ex-husband and I used to make cocktails of just
Roxy's and because Roxy's were huge in Ohio, I know that. I've talked to enough people to know how big that the 30 milligram Roxy's were, just as big as Oxy's in Ohio.
Yeah, and we were. I mean, when I was in high school, I was getting Seroquel for my bipolar. Well, until my mom stopped getting my script filled. But my friend would take that. He would have a book, so whatever he got, he would sell. Essentially, we were all just buying Klonopins and
So you
just
were into like at an early age into like the pharmaceutical stuff of like, oh, what does this pill do? What does that pill do? Not so much the hard drugs, but like the experimental. Because I remember that phase of how old are you?
I'll be 31 on Tuesday.
Okay, so yeah, we're around. I'm 35. So like, we're like there was that phase that we went through because we didn't have cell phones where you could just like Google shit. You know what I mean? When we were like discovering drugs for the first time, it's not like I could just take my phone out and just be like, "What's this imprint mean?" No, it was you take it and you wait an hour and see what happens, and you take another. There was no Google, and I remember eventually just Googling all the time, like circled, imprint number and this color and what is this pill, the pill identifier or whatever. I use that thing all the time. But in the '90s, we didn't have that. I was, at least me, I was discovering drugs in the '90s, early
yeah,
2000s, and we couldn't just be like, "What is this?" Like, no, you found out usually the hard way, but it was the fun way at the time. You think it's fun, doing that shit. Did you have brothers and sisters that drank and like partied at all, or?
oh yeah. And not to mention, you can't just take whatever now because you might, die.
Yeah, fentanyl is just.
All kinds of stuff. But my oldest sister was 19 when I was born, 20, almost 20. My other sister was 7. So they,
Wow, quite the gap between the three.
yeah. My oldest sister had a drinking problem. She's been sober for quite a few years now. My middle sister, she was sober when she went to jail, and it was the best relationship we ever had, but we're just toxic. Like, she is, I am, we are.
Yeah,
Uh,
some
but
relationships work and some you work on.
yeah,
That's what I feel like. That's the one you work on, right? Where it's not like you're giving up on her or giving up on a relationship, but it's one where it's like, yeah, we work we make it work as best we can. Is
yeah,
it's a struggle when it's a sibling and not just like a cousin or something like that. A sibling, you're like, no, I really want to make this work if we can, but
like we
and
bond over drugs.
did you drink or get high together at all?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I stopped using pills pretty much, except when I would steal my mom's pain pills for no reason except to get itchy.
to get
um
itchy.
yeah, I
I re-
started using stimulants itchy. Yeah.
no, no, and no, and I'd laugh, and you know how it is. You laugh in this kind of like environment when you relate, right? Like, whenever
Hmm.
I'm laughing at somebody when they're telling a story, it's because I'm relating. I'm not
Yeah,
laughing at them. I'm laughing because I hear that, and there's
yeah,
so many times like let's get the itchies, and because that's something that's gonna happen, and it's just it's just funny that you said that. I haven't heard of that in a while, so it just made me
right.
laugh. So, all right, but you're more of like, you're drinking to escape. Like alcohol is like your drug of choice. So,
Yeah, like that's where I feel like I could be. This fly and I have been fighting all night. He's followed me from room to room. I feel like I can be this other Chrissy, like Chrissy Maria.
mm.
It's like to get out of the realm that I'm in, the
So like
reality.
you were drinking to like be somebody else, like be somebody that you wanted to be, but not necessarily who you were.
Yeah, and then I would drink. Back in the day, and then it would be like, well, let's just get, some other drugs, and then it would be like the downs and the uppers,
Yep.
like that song, making love
So
to.
so it's 2014. I would say that you're probably what, like 24, 25 years old, and
20.
you get
Sorry.
24 and you get sober for the first time. And why did you get sober in 2014?
Well, I had my ex-husband and I.
Still married at the time? Okay.
I got married when I was 18.
But I had a girl from Ohio that got married at 18.
We were laying in bed like.
Is he in the military too? Are you the same person?
We met in high school working at Skyline Chili, and then he was my English partner who never came to school, and I'm like, oh, I gotta have him. And then he did go to the military.
That's hilarious. Did you move 3 hours away from your hometown too together?
9.5.
Oh my God, I was just fucking around. So you moved out of state?
Yeah, I left my mom a note a month before high school, and we went to New York and got married and came back and graduated and moved. And then that's when I
Okay, so wait, rewind that, Chrissy. So you were just like, leave a note that like, hey, I'm going to get eloped. I'm skipping high school today. I'm gonna go get married. BRB. Like that was your so what did the note say? Because like now I'm your mom. What did this note say from this brilliant mind of 18-year-old Chrissy getting married to the love of her life? That's gonna be forever.
Dying that you're gonna say my away message on AIM, but it was more along the lines of I'm going to look at college in New York, and I'll be back at the end of the week. And I had taken off work, and I also had to steal my own car because I didn't have a license. In fact, never had a license till I was like 21, because I've had like 2 hit and runs by the time I married.
What do you give the alcoholic with 2 hit and runs? A license. That's wild. So wait, you just left a note and you're like, I'm gonna go look at schools. And she was like, oh, good. My daughter's gonna go look at schools. And then your high school just assumed, your mom knew that you were looking at schools.
No, they actually called me, my secretary. I forget her name. I want to say Connie. And she was like, did you get married? And I was like, yeah. And my really good friend at the time I took with me, she and I got in a fight. So she left before I did. So she took my car. So I actually ended up staying a few days later, but.
So you went there with your friend too. It was you and, your fiance, soon to be husband at the time, and like a girlfriend of yours?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then she would just like, I'm out of here, and then took your car and drove back to Ohio.
Yeah, because we had to wait a certain amount of time when we got the marriage license.
3 days. Yeah.
And she was like, I got to get back to working at wherever.
Yeah. And I could see that that would get around to high school fast. Like I can't, if some girl in my class all of a sudden wasn't there all week and came back and was like, I'm married, that shit would fly around the school by second period. Everybody in the school would know about it. Without text messaging or social media, just word of mouth, that shit would have flew around the school. Not even including social media. And then you just moved in with them.
Yeah, we got an apartment together and we moved in.
And how did Miss Chrissy's mom take this? Did she like him?
She didn't at first because I had a different boyfriend, but she learned to love him.
Wait. She didn't at first because you had a different boyfriend?
Yeah, but then when I was married, she's like, okay, well, I'm not going to throw you a graduation party but I guess I'll buy you a couch. Like, I guess I want your marriage to work, and I want you guys to give it to God and all that.
Okay, I can respect. But was your boyfriend like a front boyfriend because like some girls have like fake boyfriends in high school that they're like, Mom and Dad, this is my boyfriend. And then really, it's not really your boyfriend. It's somebody else, because that's just a fake boyfriend that they're saying so that they don't get in trouble for dating the guy that takes them to New York to get married.
No.
Okay.
Nope. I had a boyfriend. God love him. He was when I moved, my mom moved me in 9th grade, the most awkward grade for me as a person to move. And so he was my start fresh boyfriend. He took my brand new virginity.
A brand new one.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the other one.
The other. Yeah. The other, yeah.
The other, yeah. You go to a new place, you get a new virginity. You didn't know that? That's a brand new thing. You get a new zip code, new virginity.
I thought it was a grand idea.
It's a good idea. No one can fact check that. So, all right, now you're married. You know, wedding bells are ringing. You're married, moving into the new place with hubby. How fast before like drinking and using is like something that's a riff in the marriage?
Right away. Day 2.
Like day 2.
Okay, day 3 or 4.
Okay, but still, but yeah, the first week.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it was days. And so like kind of like you, I had a friend that was from West Carrollton, where I'm from, or where I was moved from, and she knows all my friends. We just don't know each other, so we get to know each other. She actually witnessed my wedding, but so she's up there, and day 1, I'm like locked out of the apartment, and I meet the neighbors, and they're fun, a lot of fun. So it wasn't long before we were buds and drinking Bud Light, and then I started experimenting with other things.
Like
Ecstasy.
Yeah, ecstasy was like really. Was this like mid 2000s? You would say, right? Mid to
Well,
late.
2009.
Yeah, so that would make sense. You know, ecstasy was still popular then. You know what I mean? So you're doing ecstasy and you're drinking. So that means the parties are getting crazy.
Yeah, and so I'm not coming home, but
you're next door.
yeah, so it wasn't really interfering with our marriage, and it really didn't until we had kids, which was several years later. But he went to Afghanistan in 2010, and that's when it all got out of hand.
Because
So
you were just by yourself.
yeah, and I moved back to Ohio by myself.
Okay.
Triggers, old places.
And you get back with old people.
Yep.
What goes down? Like, what's the first thing you can think of that's like, this shouldn't have played out this way in 2010 when I moved back to Ohio?
Oh gosh, all of it. I was still doing Xanax.
I didn't know you were doing Xanax. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was.
That's forgetting a lot of days.
That's forgetting a lot of life, like my senior year and getting married. I think I already said this. My ex and I were like high on pills, and we were like, yeah, let's get married, and we did. But
Oh,
Xanax.
okay, so yeah, if you were high on Xanax during your wedding, how much of your wedding do you remember?
They sent photos.
That's not the question. They sent photos. I know, like, you're like, I know I got married, JD. I saw the pictures of me there, okay?
I have photos.
I like how you sidestep that question. You're like, no, I got pictures of my marriage. It happened. But so the answer is 0% or little to none.
10.
5 to 10%.
Yeah, actually, when we moved to New York, I remember my last Xanax bar was at the Chinese restaurant the day we had moved most of our stuff in, and I had saved it. And then when I moved back to Ohio, it became a problem. Like, I don't know. That's what I was spending all our money on. Then I got a job, and the last time I did Xanax was in 2010.
Yeah, I can remember my last Xanax high too because I forgot everything. It was one of those things where it scared the shit out of me, kind of. And what is there something that like you felt like you needed to, looking back now, like escape with Xanax so much?
Yeah, my life. There's a lot of abuse. I was provided like an escape at an early age. Like my dad let me drink when I was 8 years old. I was in second grade. I'm like, can I hit your cigarette? And he's like, yeah. And I did. And I've been a seasonal cigarette smoker. Like I can do things for a period of time and then not do them. But I had easy access to all of it. Alcohol.
That makes sense then. I mean, your parents are split up.
Yeah, they
The way you said it, it just sounded like they were split up. That when I was with my dad. Now how old are your kids?
9 and almost 7.
Okay, so did you have them when he was in Afghanistan when he came back from it? Help me out with the timeline. So 2010, we'll catch up then. 2010, that means you had the first one in 2012.
Yes.
Okay, so in that 2-year span of starting to do Xanax again, he goes to Afghanistan. What's going on?
Then I get into cocaine.
Obvi.
I start working at this restaurant, and this girl that I worked with, she couldn't deal with me on my crying. She's
Yeah.
like, "What did you take?" And I'm like, yeah. So I did. She's like, "Do this. This will make you feel better." And then I ate an egg white at Waffle House. It was very weird. It was just an odd experience, and I was still messing around with Molly.
So you were like doing anything you could to escape. If
Yeah.
somebody was like, "Hey, we have this tonight," you're like, "That's what I'm doing then."
Yeah, and I had ample funds to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because your husband's making good money, but he's not spending that good money because he's over in Afghanistan, but it's going into your account on top of the job that you have. And then at this point, you don't have kids, so you're just supporting you.
Yes, that blew my mind the other day. I said it out loud perfectly. What was I doing?
Yeah. Because, I'm glad that you can look back now and know what you did, but you got to give yourself credit or a break. We don't see what we're doing. We're not seeing the wreckage until we can step away from it and literally have a better point of view of it to see all of it at once. The Titanic doesn't look like it's a large ship when you're looking at it right in front of you because you're in it. But when you actually step back and actually pull away and see the wreckage of what happened, you're like, holy shit, that was a catastrophe. That's what addiction was like. It's like riding on the Titanic and you either got off the boat or you're Jack.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry, Leo. Too soon still? It's been
No,
25 years. Too soon? So
no.
but that's how you don't see all that stuff. Like I was doing to make you feel better, all right? Because I know that what?
I said, don't make me feel better.
I know that there's guilt along with that. I know that there is because at the same time, I can imagine a husband being like, "What do you mean you can't pay that bill? What do you mean you can't do that? Why do you have to even have a job? I make plenty." And you having to try to come up with all these lies because you don't want to tell him how much you're getting high and how much you're drinking without him.
Yeah.
How much did he know that you were actually drinking and using while he was gone?
I was dumbing it down. And, that was our form of communication was BlackBerry Messenger most of the
Yeah.
time. If he had an area where there was signal.
So it's not like he was FaceTiming you all the time and shit, or Skype, or popped up real fast where you would hop on. It was email and like BlackBerry Messenger, and you got to be over 30 to understand what BlackBerry Messenger is.
Yes.
It's iMessage for BlackBerry people. We knew if it was red and we knew if it was sent.
Pearl. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I had the chocolate. You know what I mean? Like I know what BlackBerry. I know all about it. So he has no idea. So obviously he's going to have some questions, and you're just going to come up with lies the entire time. And we'll fast forward even a little bit to now. Do you do steps or anything? Do you work a program of some kind?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's fine. Everybody has a different way, and whatever works for you works for you. So
Yeah,
I can respect that.
I don't have a sober date. Like I just woke up one day tired of my BS.
Mm-hmm. And I can respect that. Yeah, you're not the first person to not even know your sober date on here.
Really?
So yeah, if that makes you feel any better, there's been somebody else specifically. I'm not sure if anybody else, but I know specifically one other person where she just knows that she hasn't touched dope in 9 years, and she's been using cannabis in her recovery, And so when she stopped drinking and using heroin, she didn't count days because she was still smoking, because she knew AA wasn't going to take her for counting days. So she just didn't even pay attention. And she was just glad she wasn't shooting dope anymore.
Right.
And that's how I feel. Like, I don't, if you work a program, then you work a program. If you don't work a program and you're still sober and you're happy and you're free and you find a way to have a support system, which you do, TikTok is your support system. You know what I mean? Like, that is a huge support system for you, I'm sure, in your recovery in the last few months, where it's probably even made your recovery stronger in the last few months.
Yeah, it's like it's been phases. It's been me, sober writing, and then, relapsing and writing and going back. Okay, but now, there's like you said, you look back, there's accountability. Like, some things I wasn't ready to change, but like more accountability, I feel like. And then TikTok is a fun way to heal and be like, connect with people. My goodness.
Yeah, it's like a hip AA without the big book and God talk. And sometimes there is that too, depending on the ones you swipe through. You get all kinds of different recovery showing up. It's almost like you're also curating. Like, I only follow accounts from, recovery. It's a way to curate what I want to see in my feed. I have another TikTok that's like my cats, and that's the one where I follow comedians and all the other shit that I would want to see on TikTok that makes me laugh. But specifically, when I'm on my page, I only follow and, react and interact with the other recovery pages, because I only want to see the recovery there when I go on that page, because it's so strong when you go through there. There's people supporting Matt. There's people fighting Matt. But you do hear both sides to the stories on both of them. There's people working 12 steps and running meetings, and there's people that you go live a lot, right? That's like a thing that you do, is you go live and interact with people, don't you?
Yeah, I try. I try.
Yeah. And are you writing a book or something?
Yeah, I'm working on, I don't know. I have an idea for a book that's a story, but then I also have the writings that I have that I could just throw together and put it,
Have you ever wrote a book before? Or
no.
okay, because I had a guy on here. He's actually just did a second episode the other day. He's an author. His name is Travis Sackett. He was a cop in Wisconsin and then became a criminal because he got addicted to pills. And his book is called My Life with Karma, and it's all about like him going through his journey of being a cop and then becoming a drug addict and then being a criminal and doing jail time as an ex-cop also. And he is doing a 6-week thing for free as a way to give back to authors. And he's doing like sessions where you can talk to him about where you get publications. They're for people like you that have an idea but don't know how to put it together.
Right.
And he especially likes working with sober people like himself. I'll get you the link. I'll email it to you, and it's free to Zoom with him. You can go onto his Zoom calendar and you can book times to Zoom with him to talk to him about like just mentorship stuff with writing. And he doesn't charge or anything. He does it as like charity, where he gives back to other new writers. So he's a really awesome dude. I'll get you his info, because he can really help out your ideas and putting them together structure wise.
Yeah,
So
that'd be a blessing.
yeah, and it's free. He does it, like I said, all his charities. So I'll email you the link, because he sent it to me on Facebook. So I'll email you the link directly to him.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
promote his book that he wrote. But he has it on sale for $1 right now for Kindle on Amazon.
On Amazon? Okay.
Yeah, it's only $1 if you want it for going through Kindle through the holidays. He just changed it the other day. I have the hard copy. He signed it for me and sent it out to me. He's an awesome dude with a crazy good story, and him and I have gotten along since day one. That's why he's done a couple episodes now, because we just have that kind of, we can go back and forth. So it's fun talking to him. But yeah, I'll get you his info because you'll enjoy talking to him about writing shit.
Awesome.
So now let's get back on track because that's what happens with me. If you've seen any of my other episodes, I go completely off track for 15 minutes and then we find our way back again.
It's
Luckily, I write stuff down. It's 2012. Did your husband come back to visit from Afghanistan at one point to and get you pregnant?
Oh, he was in Afghanistan. He left in 2010. He came back in 2011. I moved back to New York. He did come for 2 weeks to visit and kind of saw what a crap show I was, but he was getting high too.
So he was actually enjoying it. Like he would just like, you know what? Fuck it. She just made it a lot easier for me to get drunk and get high because I don't have to like hide it or anything or be weird about it. She just has it all here for me.
That was our relationship.
Yeah. I get that. You know, there was the two extremes though. That's the one he could have went. The other extreme is losing his mind and being all batshit crazy and upset about it. And then the other extreme that would have happened is exactly that. Like, hell yeah, set it up, let's party.
Yeah, and he was going through so much that I was in my addiction. I don't even know. He doesn't want me to know a lot of things, but just like support wise, I was not there for him. I wasn't sending him regular packages, like things that army wives are doing.
You weren't.
Yeah, not. I wasn't even considering.
Yeah. Well, again, your mind was a different mind then as it is now.
Yeah.
Putting all those different chemicals into your body every single day. What do you expect? Honestly, I mean, you know what I mean? What do you expect? You know, our mind and our body are not going to be there. It's going to be a giant lag, especially with that Xanax involved. You lag everything. It's you were like always on that like kung fu effect of like effect, where like your mouth doesn't catch up, because everything's all off. I never got caught high on pills, on Percocets, on Roxy's, on painkillers in general. I was never in 10 years of doing MMOs daily. None of my family ever said to me, "Are you on painkillers right now?" Never once. But every fucking time I was on Xanax, I would get called out on that shit. Every single time. And they were always right. Every single time I was on Xanax, they're like, "You look high." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Shit. Fucking Xanax. I knew it. So now he comes back, you guys are partying. Is that when you get pregnant?
No. I get pregnant one time before. So in 2011, he comes back. I moved back to New York in like April, May. In September, we're pregnant and we miscarry. And then that's when I started going out every weekend and drinking. And I would leave him at home more or less, or he would go out with his friends. And we really split apart. I laid in bed at some nights and I wanted to die. And he more or less said, "When are you going to get over it?" Mind you, he came back from Afghanistan where he saw some of his friends go, but he didn't care at all. And the less he cared, the less I cared. We've already had marital issues from day one with infidelity. So,
I didn't know infidelity.
Oh yeah, there was. Oh my goodness.
Is that why you wait? What? Is that why you smart? Is that why you had the shit-eating grin on your face when you said ecstasy was involved?
Oh, well, yeah, that is how ridiculous, like, just my whole little life was. And well, he had some ex-girlfriends that I had saw him text. Well, when I was on his phone bill on his T-Mobile account back then, it was so easy to just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you told yourself he was cheating.
Yeah, he got 2 pictures, and I was high on Xanax, and then that's when like this girl's dad called, who's a cop, and he's like, "Don't message her anymore." And I'm like, "Tell her not to message my husband." Anyway, yeah, so I didn't trust him at all. And then there was pornography. That was an issue. So, and I, just,
So you told yourself he was cheating. 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 So you told yourself
So
For you or him?
for for him at
Okay,
that
okay. Yeah,
time. Yeah.
I don't I'm not gonna assume.
No, yeah, no, for that time, but his addictions eventually bled onto me in some way, if that makes sense. So,
Like
like,
I'm trying to like the pornography addiction affected you because he had expectations from you that weren't really like realistic, because some people that watch too much porn they're desensitized to what to expect in bed, and they expect their partner to be able to do all this crazy shit, and like, listen, I'm not a fucking porn star, I can only do so much, I don't know what you expect from me. So
yeah,
like I've heard that from some friends.
it was like him watching porn, like when we split up, that's like what I did to cope. So I was drinking, so I was doing a little bit of everything. So I took on some of his addictions.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Okay.
Yeah.
At first I lost you there. Okay. So now you get pregnant. You had a miscarriage. When do you get pregnant again?
I got pregnant in February or the beginning of March. I think the last week of February of 2012.
Mm-hmm. What? Why? What? Go ahead. Tell me why. Why are you smiling? Like, what is the story behind it?
So I got pregnant. I wasn't sure who my kid's dad was, but I was pretty sure it was my husband. So I didn't really say anything at first, but I moved to Ohio. We were splitting up. And I was homeless for a little bit. And I actually was going to get an abortion because I didn't want to quit drinking. I didn't want to quit living my life. But I had like 3 miscarriages. So I went to the wrong place to get an abortion because they were like, well, we have to give you an ultrasound first, which of course that's what they do. But anyway, long story short, my baby had a heartbeat and I changed my mind and I'm like, no, but you're not gonna adopt my baby.
Well, yeah,
So
because the other times that you've on, you've only been met with letdown every single time you have a sonogram. It seems like the other 3 times you're going to the doctors and you sit down to find out. So we have to tell you some bad news is going to break your heart each time. So why wouldn't you morbidly just go straight to the source? You know what? I'm done with him anyway. So I already know what you're going to say to me. So to me that actually makes sense in a way of like it was your addict brain's way of like, I'm gonna get to acceptance quicker by taking care of this myself.
yeah,
That was your way of running the show, of being like, I need to take control in this because inevitably what's going to happen is I miscarriage and then I'm broken again. So I'm not even, I wouldn't have judged you regardless because I fully support, you know what I mean? That, but I think in that moment, you're completely right in doing that because it makes total sense to me of where your addict brain would have been too. So how did the rest of the pregnancy go?
it was
It was
good. I smoked marijuana,
perfect.
and
Which is completely safe and recommended for pregnant mothers, for those of you that are curious, because a lot of the times mothers lose appetite and have trouble eating things, and smoking that can also help with that. It helps with pain, it helps with ankle swelling, it helps with a lot of things. So do not judge her because I fully support any, because it's going to make any pregnancy much easier, especially on the husbands.
so
So I'm so glad you did that.
bless your heart. Yeah, and I used to do a lot of vlogging, not to mention I had a family member and I who I was pretty close with. We haven't talked since 2015, 14 because I was breastfeeding and smoking marijuana, which our body naturally has 2 cannabinoid systems. So everything you just said, yeah.
Yeah, it's been, and I knew about that. The first person I knew that it was recommended, I think we were like 22 or something like that. I remember it being like 2008 because I remember being in my old apartment where my one friend from school was pregnant, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the doctor said that she can smoke because she's having trouble eating." I'm like, "Oh, that makes total fucking sense." Like what? Duh. Like, and you don't even have to smoke. You chose to smoke because guess what? It doesn't affect anything because of how it passes through. But you could also eat too. You can do edibles. You can do tinctures. There's a lot of different, the little capsules. There's a lot of different ways that you can use it without even inhaling. So, which is really cool. There's even the spray. There's lotion. There's a lot of different ways nowadays. Um, Unfortunately, there's a way that I saw that I hate. There is one way that I hate though. In California, a company makes a certain cannabis that can be sniffed.
Ooh,
Yeah. And I don't like that at all because
that brings out the.
yeah, I was addicted to snorting, Like I had a whole ritual and it was my thing. And so yeah, I don't like the fact that they're taking something and glorifying it.
Yeah.
That's glorifying something like that. Smoking, that's just something that's been done tale as old as time. But snorting, breaking up and snorting like that and turn it into that's you're going for it. It looks like Coke too. It's white. It's white powder. It's not even green powder. Give me green, give me green powder at least.
Wow, I've never heard that, but I, for the same reason, agree with you.
Yeah, that's the only one where I went like, you went too far. You're the reason why they're gonna take the ball away from us because of you. You're that kid in the playground that's pegging kids in the head. Stop. I want to play dodgeball. Fuck.
Yeah.
So it's too much. We don't need it. Just smoke it, eat it, relax, chill, watch a movie. You don't need to do shit. Anyway, I completely support it. I'm glad you did it. Your boy is probably much healthier because of it, because it also helped with you with cravings, with drinking and using.
Yes, that
It
and soda water.
Yeah, it helps with everything. So you were able to avoid actually getting high and getting drunk during your pregnancy and be responsible because you were using cannabis. And I love that. And I had no idea that was in your story. And I love that. Did you do it again for your second kid?
Yeah, I did until about a month prior, which, and then of course, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. A month prior, I stopped smoking, and then the night before I gave birth, I had a small glass of red wine, like the recommended small serving, but a little less than that. And I just feel like I got really red. My body didn't react well. Like, because our bodies, I feel like, are allergic, some more than others. And my body was really allergic.
Yeah.
That's what
That's why what?
that's what I felt like. I felt like, really bad and guilty.
Yeah. And then you gave birth the next day.
Yeah.
And is she or he?
My first pregnancy was a girl and my second was a boy, Ezekiel.
Okay, cool. So, but he was all good though.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, that's good. And is he had the same dad?
Biological.
Did you get back with the same dude eventually?
I
Because
did.
because I skipped ahead too far. I probably should have. I shouldn't. So when does ex-husband enter back in for baby number 2?
2000, and well, we get back together at the end of 2013. We split up at the beginning and we get back together at the end. And then in 2014, I'm trying to think of how it goes. I probably joined a MLM and I got sober.
What's an MLM?
Multi-level marketing.
Okay.
Company like Mary Kay, Amway.
Okay.
But I don't think I did yet. But I got sober to save our marriage, more or less.
And it was just white knuckle, and it just like, you know, you were just being abstinent. You weren't going to meetings or anything. You were just like.
I was going to church. I went to one AA meeting at the church I attended, but I was like, I didn't go back after that for whatever reason. I don't even know if I have one, probably the accountability thing, but
Yeah,
so then
sometimes you don't hear what you need to hear, but sometimes that's what I go to a lot of meetings. So there's meetings that you don't hear anything that resonate with you, but then there's meetings where you walk out and you're like, I needed that meeting. You're like, because you heard something in every single share that resonated with you. And it's not really the meeting, it's your mindset. So like, it's not really that they didn't say anything that didn't resonate with me. It's that my mind wasn't paying attention sharply enough to pick up on things to relate them to me. Because it's very easy to sit in an AA meeting and relate out. It's very easy to be like, "Hey, I'm John. I'm an alcoholic," and then me go, "My name's not John," and then so we're not the same. And then we could have everything else the same in his story or in his share, but I already discounted him because our names aren't the same, and I can relate out. But it's very easy to relate in too and be like, "Oh, I got sober at that age," or "Oh, I did that too," and then you follow along and you take with his story, and then it impacts you more because you're trying to relate to the person. And when you try to relate to everybody that's shared in a meeting, you leave feeling so good because you leave feeling not alone because all those people just touched you and was able to get something that made you feel less alone about yourself and less insecure about yourself. So I like that kind of support where I can hear things right away that I need to hear when we're going around sharing. That's why I do meetings at my place. I run a mental health place where we do meetings all day long. And I love that kind of thing where it's just open discussion, talk about your day, what's on your mind, how you going to get through it, you know. So he comes
awesome.
back, you guys get together, and now you're pregnant.
Yeah, well, yeah, I relapsed. And real quick, let me just tell you, alcohol, I got a DUI when I was 19, so I didn't even have a driver's license till I was 21. So I'm drinking and driving up until this point, even after I had a kid.
That's right. You said you didn't have your license until you were 21, and you had 2 hit and runs before that.
Yeah, so just a little background on how alcohol and, you know, it's impacted me. But so so I've been sober. We're 2014, back together. I start working another job at a Mexican restaurant, and drinking is back in my life. I relapsed. I didn't know how bad that impacted me. I relapsed, and then I realized I was pregnant many weeks later. I actually have a negative blood type, so it's important that I find out I'm pregnant right away. Um, but it was 9 weeks before I found out, and I was really I was spending like hundreds of dollars on Adderall, on top of whatever I was prescribed, and woo, I did not want to have another baby. So when I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, I'm not going to go get that shot. I just didn't want to have another baby, but I didn't know the baby wasn't my husband's until after he was born because I forgot about the relapse. I forgot about the engagement. Does that make sense? Did I lose you?
Okay. Nope, you didn't lose me. From what you just said that I got is you and your husband were back together, you were sober, you had a relapse. During this relapse while you were working at this new job, you started partying more, and turns out while you were partying is when you're not really faithful and you cheated on him with some other dude and you forgot that you cheated on him because you might have been on Xanax when you were blacked out, and then you got pregnant, thought it was your husband's because you forgot you hooked up with that dude.
Yes, except I left out another part. I wasn't on Xanax, but I was using probably cocaine, but alcohol for sure. I thought there was a chance that there's the owner at this Mexican restaurant, and I had slept with him. I knew I did. So I thought maybe my husband or maybe him, but not the third guy who I had forgotten about. So
How
he was
did
a
wait what?
So that was a surprise for all of us, especially me.
How did you know? Did you do a paternity test to find out, or was it like obvious?
Both. It was both. Well, my sister, of course, she and I don't get along very well. She's like, Chrissy, I don't recognize the baby's nose. And so I
Wait, hold
wasn't
on.
sure. I did do a
Wait, hold on.
paternity.
Wait, hold on. I lost you for a second. Your Wi-Fi. Okay.
Is it my Wi-Fi? Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good? Okay.
Yeah. So your sister did what now? Your sister didn't recognize?
Being toxic. She's like, I don't recognize his nose. And that's when the first restaurant I worked at, this is confusing. People started saying, he looks like, and so that's when I had an idea, like, could it be this guy that I think it might be? We'll just call him D. Is it D? So then people start saying, no, he looks like E. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, E, ow, that did happen. It was like a repression of a memory.
Yeah, you forgot that you even hooked up with them until it was a possibility that you did once. And then it all kind of rushed back like, oh shit, I remember that night now. Did the whole entire night come back to you too, or just like bits and pieces?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah,
The whole night.
That seems about right. So I would assume now, what kind of a scene happens when this is all called out? Like, because your ex-husband didn't know for a while.
Yeah. So when he found out, I actually felt relief. It was like a spiritual, like my vision went black and I was seeing blue everywhere. But going back, it was like he found out the wrong way.
Yeah, you were at the bar.
Yeah, of course. I was at the bar that he hated that I went to. So he already does. He didn't.
And he was there with you?
No, never.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So this bar specifically I used to work at, he hates it. And so, but he would never be with me. And I'm not even probably at this point allowed to be at this bar. To be respectful to my marriage.
Well, yeah, but that night that he finds out, he was at the bar with you?
No, he wasn't. He was at home. He found out the next night after the bar night when the biological dad's girlfriend tried to fight me.
Okay, so yeah, tell me that story then, because that's where I'm confused about.
So we were drinking and she was there and I was there and she comes up behind me and tries to fight me, and then I was asked to leave. Like, she tries to fight me, but then my son's biological dad's sister, so we'll call him E, his sister comes out and breaks the girl's nose. And there's a big fiasco and the police are called. It was like betrayal. I thought I was like being betrayed, but I don't remember drinking a lot.
Yeah, usually you wouldn't. And then he found out the next night, your husband.
Yeah, because she messaged him and was like, by the way, the baby is E's and he's been giving her money to, like, which wasn't entirely true, but it was just malicious. And
oh, I see. Okay, now I'm caught up. Okay, that makes sense. All right, now we're all caught up. Just okay. Now, okay, so he leaves. Have you guys been done since?
No, he didn't leave.
Oh, okay. I thought you said. Are you guys together still?
No, we went.
I was gonna say that would be hilarious.
I know. We are actually best friends. We're great friends.
Good.
Divorced in 2019. We split up in 2017.
Better off as friends.
Yeah, it took a lot to get to being friends. He's actually sober too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and co-parenting is so important.
It's our life.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, because, I'm a stepdad, so now we co-parent, and because our kid's dad is in his life, so, he got picked up a few hours ago to go to his dad's for the weekend. So, we're always in contact because my wife has MS. So sometimes like we need him to take him for the night because we're at the hospital or doing whatever, So it's very important to have that relationship for the kid involved. In this case, your daughter. And how is it with your son?
Um, my ex-husband raises both of my kids the same.
That's
He,
awesome.
yeah, there's no difference. He doesn't know the
Oh,
difference.
okay. Well, I mean, but your kid knows. No?
No, not yet.
Not yet. He's only 4, right?
He is going to be 7 in December.
7. Yeah, he's still young though. Like he's still young, young. It's definitely probably going to be a conversation at some point, I'm sure. But it's nothing you need to rush. That's for sure. So that's good. And at least you guys are amicable. Now, when you guys split up, that was after another relapse when you were finally done.
No, when we were finally done, I was sober. So I was working at a halfway house and spending a lot of extra time after my working hours. Do you know what I mean? So that's when my relationship went south, like to where he was following me at some point to find out where I was going. That it was a problem. So I eventually found another job, but my marriage was already in ruins. So it wasn't the alcohol addiction at that point.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense to me though. That that's what it would lead to because it's another control thing though. They are really similar. It's a lot of it's about control. The amount controlling your drinking, you're using pills or whatever, ecstasy, fucking. No matter what you're doing, a lot of it is what can I control? What can I control? And sometimes you don't want to be able to control anything, and you want chaos. And a lot of people are just addicted to chaos because they grow up around chaos, so they expect chaos. And when there's not chaos, and when things are normal, that's when it's a problem because why are things normal? Things are supposed to be bad for me, and it's just like waiting for it. And that's when you start having panic attacks because there's no chaos, and you're so used to chaos. Am I close?
Yeah, it's just like that, and it's like, well, I want to know what to expect. It's kind of like when um I used to push people away, and I would tell them all these bad things about me. And then that would be me saying, I'm making a decision that you don't like me. You're not gonna get to know me and decide you don't like me. Same thing with chaos. I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna control it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
this is my chaos. So, all right, so 2009, now you're single and you're getting divorced finally. Like, and you got officially divorced.
Yeah, in 2019, and but I moved out in 2017.
Okay, and now did have you really drank since then?
No, I didn't start drinking till I got a boyfriend out of prison. Well, he was in a halfway house for sleeping with the worker, and then I picked him up out of prison and made him my boyfriend, and that was September 20 October, and that's when I started drinking again.
2019, though, when you and him get divorced officially, you're sober. Have you really been? Were you sober then?
No, I was sober in 2018 up until August, and then I was drinking in 2019, and it actually everything got worse because then I started using nicotine. Like I was just went downhill.
All right. So when does things start to get better, and why?
Most recently,
Yeah.
yeah, the end of September, and was in a really like the relationship I was in was toxic, and a lot of my triggers, like a lot of my coping, was alcohol.
So do you think being like active in your recovery now on TikTok every day is helping in that?
Absolutely, I have like I'm dealing with a lot of things that I've done, like you said, in the past that we just look back on, but I'm also dealing with it as it comes, because it's not like every day is like, oh, I did this yesterday. This is fine. And some of it's doing like a lot of new things. Like even here, hearing songs that are like, oh, you remember that one time we shut down Diamonds in the strip club? It was like 5 p.m. and we were up for 11 days.
I know.
um,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
so yeah, being active and being honest about myself.
And this is all for the first time that you're really like kind of. This is probably the first time it sounds like you've been active in your recovery of being sober. Other times of being sober, it's not like you were talking about it ever. Only time you were talking about being sober probably is when you were being offered something. You were saying, "No, I can't. I don't drink anymore, or I don't use anymore, or whatever." But like, it probably wasn't happening. It probably would have relapsed. Because you weren't working any kind of recovery, and now you are. Now you have a support system. You know.
Yeah, I actually didn't have my friends, and I had a group of like 5 friends, and we kind of fell out really hard because they thought I actually did like a metabolism reset, was like a 30-day detox, and I realized I could live with alcohol. Like I really evaluated my relationship, and I'm like, I can do without it. I can live without it. And my friends took it so personal, because that's how we bond, we fell out, and then in 2017, I lost 2 of those friends drinking and driving. Um,
I'm sorry.
yeah, and you would think I would not drink and drive after that, but I did still. Because I eventually in 2017, like I told you, in September, I relapsed when I started drinking with the boyfriend that I had.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's definitely a pattern of yours too.
yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
Of, relationship drink, relationship use, relationship drink, or you know what I mean? Or like you're by yourself and just use, they think. So yeah, it's definitely been a pattern of yours, 100%. But there, what isn't a pattern is you weren't working any recoveries at all. You weren't talking about it. You weren't being supportive to other people. You weren't being honest about what your story is. I mean, this is probably the first time you've sat down in long form, told your story this way, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to do it, with you as best we could.
I appreciate.
Because I know how hard it is. I had to do this at 30 days sober and in front of a room full of people and just stand up there and tell my story, not interact. And I was just like, a ball of nerves. But, I did it because I used to do stand up comedy and addiction, and I wanted to get used to talking in front of a crowd again, but sober. So this dude that was like mentoring me, he was like, "All right, well, I'm running this meeting. You can go talk for an hour like you would stand up. So go tell your story." I'm like, "Okay." So I did, and you feel so good afterwards, like therapeutically. It's like you buy yourself a whole other month of sobriety just by unloading all of that shit. Because it's off of your mind. It's not eating away at you. It's not bothering you. Because it's good to talk about it. Keep telling your story on TikTok like you do. Keep talking to other people. You can come on here again if you want to tell more stories. Because, like I said earlier, it's all about finding ways to resonate with people. Whenever I'm telling my story, I try to be, descriptive as like a writer who's trying to tell a story and make it fun and interesting and good for you and make it impactful. But I'm also trying to be vague also, because I want everybody in the room to find something that they can resonate with. Even if it's, I always ask you, I always ask everybody, do you have any siblings? Only child, because that right away, somebody listening go, oh my God, I had a sister. I had a brother too. And I was the middle child, or I was the oldest, or I was the, and then it's a way for the listeners to resonate with people right away. So the more you tell your story, the more people will resonate with you. You have 25,000 people that are resonating with you right now on TikTok.
I know.
Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I agree. It is.
So, and it keeps you accountable. because like, like I got to be sober today because I got to do some sober stuff for some people so they stay sober too.
Yeah. And, I love seeing people thrive. Like, okay, they can do it. I can do it. And, they believe in themselves. And that kind of energy is super contagious, like in the recovery community.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's why I like to talk to everybody that does it differently. If you go through, there's been 50, 60, 70 episodes now of my show. But by the time this one comes out, because I'm about to release, the 30 of them. And if you go through, you hear 12 steps, you hear AA, you hear NA, you hear harm reduction, you hear people that use cannabis only, you hear people that drink 1 day a week, you hear people that drink here and there, don't drink at all. You know what I mean? And you hear a lot of different things. And again, that's the point. The more stories that are out there, the more chance that one person can resonate with one of the stories. And, you definitely had a lot of things that people are going to resonate with. I mean, you and I related the entire time back and forth.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
So I appreciate you sitting down. I hope you come back and, want to talk more, definitely, because we had a fun talk. But I am so glad you're doing so much better this time around and you have a new way of doing it because the other ways weren't working. And now you have a new system, a way of doing it. And it's the new age way of, AA is not the only way. And I love AA and what it's done for me, but it's not. If TikTok can help you stay sober, keep posting. Keep posting. I'll put your link to your TikTok for those that are watching. You can go check out like all her posts. Whether you're listening to this or watching it, you'll be able to go to the link and it'll take you right to her page too.
Awesome.
But thank you so much for talking. I know how hard it is to talk for your first time like that, and open up.
Yeah, you're awesome, JD. I appreciate it. It's great meeting you.
You feel better? You feel good about talking? I know you were anxious about it.
No, yeah, I feel great.
Okay.
I know sometimes I can be like going off, taking a pit stop, how we do.
Yep. And I'd like to do that also because it helps give you a break. It helps give you a break from telling such a traumatic story. Our stories are not easy. And telling my story, it's the same thing, and it's not an easy thing to get through. It's a very emotional thing to relive over and over again. So I like to have the side conversations because at least it takes you out of trying to relive that piece by piece because that's exhausting. That is not as therapeutic for me. That's more exhausting to me. But when you can laugh while you're doing it, like we did, and you can find ways to relate to somebody back and forth to not feel so alone, that's the therapeutic part that I go for with anybody that I talk to, no matter who you watch or listen to on here. That's what I go for every single time I'm talking to somebody, is I want to make sure that we are relating and not feeling alone in that time, and that hopefully somebody else can feel not alone when they're listening or watching.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
I said I love what you do.
Thank you so much. I love what I do, and I love what you're doing, and keep doing it. And we'll look for you on there, and I'll have you back on again for a follow-up soon. So thank you so much.
All right.
All right,
Thank
have a
you.
good night. See you.
Bye.
Bye.